I've been enjoying making razors lately, but I also felt like doing something silly. So I'm having a go at making a razor the shape of a bearded axe. First things first, this length of car spring needs straightening. Then, the end gets squared up. Now, I'm setting a small shoulder where I want to bend it. And a perfect demonstration of why cameras don't last very long in my workshop. The corner currently has too much of a curve to it, so I'm using the ball end of the hammer to try and move some material out into it. That still wasn't enough, so after taking a heat, I'm letting the bottom of the beard cool and then upsetting the material upwards. Now, I'm drawing the beard down further using the crosspeen. Here, I'm trying to forge the ears into the head. Normally, this would happen when you open up the eye, but this one is too small for that to work. After a cup of tea, the steel has cooled enough to drill a hole through it, right through the middle of the head. And now we drift the eye open. A little tidying up and another cup of tea, and it was time to do some rough grinding. This bit of wire is used to hold the axe head during heat treatment, so that the tongs don't sink all of the heat away before it's ready. Tempering in this little oven has given me fairly good results so far. I've driven the axe head back onto the drift so that it's easier to hold while finish grinding. And with a fresh new belt on the grinder and a lot of care and patience, we can hone the edge into a nice hollow grind. And the final step with the head is to sharpen and polish it. Starting off at 120 grit, I then polish the whole axe head through 240, 400, 600, 1200 grit, and then I hone just the edge through 2500, 4000 and finally 10,000 grit before finishing it off on some chromium oxide stropping paste. Now, onto the shaft. I've got quite a lot of this cherry wood lying around, so I'm going to use it. It might actually be faster to shape the whole thing on the sander and skip the saw, but I like being able to see the rough shape so that I don't make stupid mistakes and grind the wrong part off. After shaping it up, it's time to get it to fit nicely into the axe head, and so it's time for hand files. I check, I file away, I check again, I file away again.
Alright.
Once it fits nicely, I polish the whole thing up to 400 grit. Now, I just need a little slot for the wedge to go into, and then it'll be time to glue things up. We just mix together some 2-part epoxy, put it into the hole, make sure it's absolutely everywhere, and then hammer the wedge into the slot. Clean off the excess with a little bit of acetone, and then we leave it alone to set. A little Danish oil, and hey presto, we're done. So, on my first attempt, I didn't have the square jig I used to drift the eye, so it left these horrible gouges along the side that looked terrible. On my second attempt, the eye went through off-centre and twisted. Take 3 was good, but the blade wasn't parallel to the handle, and the beard is much too far away. The fourth try was really nice, but the slight angle to the edge makes it hard to sharpen because it doesn't want to make contact at the top. And finally, take 5, where it finally went right.